Okay, so let's do another observational drawing. You'll note that I've got a teddy bear. It's a lot like we did an imaginary teddy bear before. And just like before, we've got the light coming from a certain direction, and we've got it coming from a certain angle. And we'll see that in real life, it works out pretty much exactly like it did when we were just working conceptually. Okay, and just like before, we're going to do a very quick drawing. So we're just going to work this out here. Right? There's a little oval circle for the head, for the body, for the feet, and the other foot, and the arm, right? And the other arm, and done. See, really quick, you want to be super, super fast with that initial drawing. You might not even be able to see this, but super done. And it just gives me something to work off of now. And you want to be quick because you want to overcome that psychology. Now I can start putting in a few more things maybe to see where stuff's at. Over here, here. Okay. Now, is it looking right? So I can check a few things. So I can check my measurements. For instance, I can just say like, okay, if this head is this wide, then how tall is the body? Okay, so here, from here to here. So if this is this wide here, and I say, okay, from here to here. Let's check that again. Here and here. So I could see that the body itself was about as big as the head was wide. Okay, so I can either make my head a little bit wider. I think that's what I need to do. Or I'd need to make my body a little bit shorter. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and just start working things in because I think we've got things about in the right place. I'm looking here and I see that this is about from here to here. So it's a little bit more than half of that area is taken up by the nose. So if I've got the nose area here, then it's a little bit more than half. So that's working out just fine. How about here? I've got the head is about this wide, and the body, or excuse me, the arm from the shoulder is about as wide or long as the head is wide. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So measurements, another thing is angles. So I'm going to look at this here and look at this angle here for the leg and see if I've got it about right here from the bottom of the hand to the foot here, looking at that angle here. Okay, yeah, it seems about right. Anything else? How about from one foot to the other? Right about there. Check that out. Okay, maybe keep my foot up a little bit taller. That will help. And get everything in the right spot. So how about here? We're going to check this angle here. Check it out here. Yeah, it looks like this foot can come out a little bit further, doesn't it? All right, and then we've got the nose here is about, ooh, it's about half the head, right? So if I have the nose here, got to make sure that it's really full all the way down to here. Okay, and if that's the case, then I can look at the arm here and see, like, okay, from the ear down to the foot, it's almost a straight line. From the ear to the foot, it's basically a straight line, right? So I've got to keep that arm within that area. So angles, measurements, and relationships. That's what's going to help you to make your drawing a little bit more accurate. Okay, so now we've got the bear pretty much in place, we can just start working on creating him with a little bit of texture. Now he's furry, so I'm being very loose as I draw this down. And the temptation might be to just go like line, 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 right? Because that's sort of a symbolic way of doing the hair. But that's not really what's going on. You should take a look and see how long the hair is, what the sort of like the grain of the hair is. So it's coming down this way here, this way here, coming down, 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 getting that grain in. And then it's coming around sort of this way while these things are going in sheets this way. And it even has a little bit of a double layer here where it's a little bit, see, lower here, sort of two sections where it hangs off. And remember, these sketchbook drawings that I have you do, well, hopefully you're creating beautiful art, but you're creating the ability to really see. So get into details and be very particular about your stuff. That all being said, you know, when you're doing texture, you don't have to get everything exact, right? Because it's a texture. You're not going to get every single hair in place. Now I'm looking at the contour lines right here on the bear and just following those. I know everything's in about the right place. So I'll get my texture going in the right direction. And I'll get that contour, you see. So it's a little bit smoother than what my initial um, little circles and ovals would have made it. Okay, this hair is very long here, so I'm indicating that. Very long and very light for this ear here. It's crazy. Whenever you get in front of a microphone, you can't speak. At least that's what happens to me. Okay. And sometimes when I'm defining things, the way I have to go is with the values. Looking for the values and filling those in. And if I can find the values, sometimes that will help me to define the form because it's a soft value. See, so I can see it's lighter here, and there's no particular line that separates one area from another, but there's a value. It's softer than that. You can see that there's a shadow up underneath here, so I'll try and get that in, and that's what's going to make it more three-dimensional. Just draw what you see. And look at that top. See where that ear comes in, and that ear is just a little bit below the top. So if the top comes up a little bit, then that ear is just a little bit lower. It's almost like a triangle shape as it comes out. I know it's a round ear, but in this instance, it's almost like a triangle shape, and I can separate the head from the ear a little bit of area of value, and I can come back once everything is just mapped out just the way I want it. And then I can make little corrections here and there. I think of drawing and creating art as a process. I almost never get everything perfect the first time, and that's one of the reasons why I insist so much on drawing lightly at first. Maybe it's because I make a lot of mistakes. I just know that that's just such an easier way to go. All right, let's clean that up a little bit. Once again, looking for the angles on here, the angles on here, looking for the contour line, what you might think of as the outline, but there's no actual line, so we'll call it a contour line, showing just the separation of one thing from another. Okay, and we've got the nose right in here. And everything's becoming a little bit more accurate. And that's where that nose is. And I'm going to fill in the values a little bit, but I'm not being super committal about it right now. I'm just showing where the nose is by having a darker value. Later on, we'll come in and get all the shadowing and stuff that's going on around here. But I'm not too worried about that right now. continuing to map out the direction of that fur. Because at some point, if I get everything pretty much right, then it'll be easier to maybe look away from my model a little bit and just focus on my drawing. Because, in the end, nobody is going to see your model unless you were to take a picture of it. And even then, is it going to be exact? Because, like right now, my vision of where I'm at, I'm trying to be really close to the camera, but it might not be exactly what you guys see. Okay. Now, we have not talked a lot about negative space, but sometimes, the psychology is such that your mind always wants to name things, right? And has a symbol for them. But if you look at the negative space around things, your mind doesn't really have a symbol for that. So you can see things more accurately when you're looking at the space, let's say, around something instead of that thing itself. So you can see here, I've got how this comes out, and there's this dark area right around here. And that dark area is helping me to define my space. And I see that we've got the leg comes out here a little bit, little bit, little bit. And the belly continues to come out here a little bit. And then this is very furry, up, up, up. Coming around. We've got the pad, that foot right under there. And symbolically thinking, you might say, well, that foot, isn't it just an oval, right? Well, when we were first making it, we kind of used an oval as a stand-in to get it into the right place to make things simpler. But, as I'm looking at it from my direction right now, it's an undefined shape. It's an organic shape. And just following the contour lines. I know I have everything in about the right place, right? So now I can be confident in just getting the angles and getting the shapes in. And I'm always looking for relationships of one thing to another. So like here, this foot sticks up taller than the other from my point of view, right? So I want to do that. And it's not really, either I have to move this foot up a little bit, which maybe, move that pad up a little bit. I think that's it. You see, and then I'll get that angle to be a little bit more appropriate, how the one gets into another. Okay. Okay, good enough. Good enough. I don't want to make that too fat. Alrighty, and then this has a little bit of separation there. And then we have this that's coming around. And here. Here. The direction of that fur. And here's where that foot is for me. I guess this is a little bit narrower right here. And here's that foot. And these things are coming this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Get it right, Robert. Hands they can get lazy and don't put things in the right direction. Okay, here. And okay, so let's see. We've got something not quite right. I think this is too big right here. So this can come down a little bit. And then this doesn't have to be quite as big to seem right. And then we can have that belly. then it can dip down into the leg, and then it can be a little bit puffy, and then maybe this arm isn't quite as long as what we originally drew it. Okay, and then we've got all this right in here. And once again, you see I'm following the direction of the fur. And it might not be perfect, but I do want to get it kind of close. Why not? That's the point of observational drawing. Here, and this comes over here, and then it comes into a little bit of a ruff right here, and there's a couple layers of the fur that's going this way. Okay, and then I've got my shadows. I've got my shadows like here, and then underneath the leg. It's pretty tight under the leg right here. But we don't want to be too committal right now because I want to leave room for the fur to come in. Then there's that shadow that's in here. Here, we'll use the side of our pencil. I don't want to come back later and think that that was fur. Okay, we got it. So bump, 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 and bump as far as that shadow goes. Okay. Okay, and so then we've got another shadow that comes down about here. And then down into here. And then over to here. And then off really right about here. Okay. So let's see, that needs to bump out a little bit as I look at that. So here, here, coming down into here. Okay, so I think that I've got that pretty good. And now I can start really thinking about getting the details just right. So as I look at this now, it just looks kind of a little bit like a mess because everything is the same value pretty much, right? So it doesn't really stand out the way you'd like it to. And so everything's mapped out. So now basically it's just a matter of getting our values in there. And that's what's really going to start to define things. So I don't want to lose all of that mapping that I did on the texture. I don't think I will. I can still see it, but I want to get the overall values in now. And it might become sort of an interplay between going back and forth. Detail, values, detail, values again. So I'm just looking for where I see that light. I see a little bit of light up here, right? More so than right here. So I'm gonna look for those things, those little subtle things. There's definitely darker value underneath here. just remember, like on that bottle that we did a couple of drawings ago, I defined that edge by the difference in values, not by a harsh line. So same thing here. If you were to really look, there's some beautiful reflected light right past the core of this shadow. So it gets just, just a hair lighter before becoming a hair darker again. It's really cool, actually. I love this kind of drawing because you really see things. You see things as you've never seen them before. Even curving around here, it's like there's a darker part of the shadow right in here. And then it gets lighter again, coming away from it. I'll take and soften that a little bit. Okay, good enough. Good enough for now. Who knows, maybe we'll come back to that. There's definitely a stronger core shadow right here. Just keep that nice and soft there. Although actually it's kind of nice. It's got kind of a nice sharp shadow right there, doesn't it? Alrighty then. So, and it's so nice. We can just trust the drawings that we've made already. And so here, this is this is not white here, right? And it's got a little bit of a value change. It comes in through here. And a little bit of stronger value right here, and a little bit of stronger value right here as it comes around. Okay. Some of those initial lines there. A little bit of value right there. A little value right there. Ooh, and then a little bit darker right underneath his belly. There. And this is a form. Let's make a little form out of this foot. Right. It's a little bit lighter here. Okay, so this is a form in here, so we can just use our understanding of forms to go ahead and create a form here using the values. And you'll see that all the real values really follow the same sort of pattern that our conceptual ones did. Okay, so then we've got a nice dark area right here where it separates the belly from the arm. And from the leg right here. But then the leg comes out here. We don't want to lose that. A little bit of leg right there. Well, we'll come back. We'll come back for the texture a little bit again. Let's just get those values into place. You can see how it's becoming more three-dimensional now, though. Under here. And I kind of compare one value to another. So remember when we were making those value scales, right? So, you had your dark, you had your medium, you had your light. But, you also had like medium dark, medium light, etc. So I'll just compare and contrast, one value to another value, one value to another value to try and rectify those. Thinking again in terms of form, right? This leg here is essentially a cylinder. So I just want to think in terms of form. That's what's going to make it round. All right, so I'm looking at this shape here. Maybe get this a little bit more exacting, separating the arm from the body. Careful, it's not real dark right here. I might have gotten this a little bit darker than what it really should be. Okay, so now I can start working on the head a little bit. And we've got that initial ear right in here, and underneath that ear, we've got some values. Dark, maybe not that dark, but if it's not perfect, nobody's gonna know. As long as it looks good. That's the thing I like about art. That it doesn't have to be perfect, just good. If it looks right, it is. If it looks right, it's good enough. Right? So it's got like a little bit of value here. Then it's got kind of a lighter area. Right? And then it picks it up again. That's where that ear is. It's got like a series of ridges here almost. And then a little bit darker right here, once again. And then got some a little bit here, but this is a little bit lighter in value. So don't get it too dark. And then this is really dark in here. And if you need to make some adjustments to any of the forms, you know, you can still do that. It's a nice thing about pencil, it erases. Okay, and so here, for instance, I think that's too sharp. Okay, so maybe it's time to start coming in. And once again, looking towards detail. Okay, it's got a couple eyes, but even those eyes, they are forms. Pretty much everything is a form. Right, that needs to be a little bit darker value in there. A little darker under here. Just to bring that out. Even if we have to exaggerate it a little bit. Okay. So anyways, where was I? Back here. So maybe this has just a little bit of indication of this really much lighter fur. Okay, very, very light. So not putting in a heavy texture at all. Giving it a little bit of light on that nose. Okay, and then so, but here, you know, we had heavier texture. Now that I've got my values back in, come in and start giving it a little bit more texture again. And it doesn't have to be exact. But it should definitely draw its inspiration from the real thing. Otherwise, it just won't even be close to being right. So as you're watching these videos, hopefully you'll find it interesting just to see how a drawing progresses. And you're not, you know, following it along exactly because, you know, you can't, right? Your drawing is your drawing. Your setup is your setup. It's in the fourth dimension, isn't it, really? As far as, you know, you got height, width, depth, and time. Yours is, even if you had the exact same setup, it's going to be at a different time, right? So nothing can be the same. But hopefully, you'll see the steps that I've taken so that you'll know what steps you need to take when you need to make your decisions. Remember, all these drawings that I do, all the lessons that I do, is so that you can draw on your own, that you can do it when I'm not there. I want you to have, a gift, something that maybe you couldn't do before, or maybe you can do it better. Maybe, and this would be really cool, maybe you do it better than me. Maybe your stuff looks better than mine. You know how cool I would be with that? Like, really cool. Really, really super cool if you get somebody who does better than me. Okay. Now this texture, I suppose I could do a less sloppy job on it. Get some of the areas here really thinking about form to make it come out. A less sloppy job would probably be good. But, it is a tutorial after all, and we do want to end it eventually. But we've gone in phases, and we've looked at drawing an overall sort of thing very quickly indeed. And then we sort of made it as accurate as we could, right? We kind of straightened everything up and we checked the angles, we checked the measurements, we checked the relationships, right? We sort of mapped out the fur, and that really helped us to start seeing how things were going to go. And watch out, it's so easy to get lazy. Just start scribbling. I think I'm starting to scribble right now. And then we put in the values, and that really helped to solidify it. And finally, let me see, this has got that little texture. Oof. And then finally went over and started working on the texture once again. That's how we did it on this drawing. Who knows? Maybe the next drawing a little different. You got to treat them all differently. And that's the thing I love about this observational drawing is there's really no set formula other than the fact that you want to sort of get your quick drawing in. If there was one thing that was sort of set in stone, it'd be that. But everything else is pretty much each drawing is its own little adventure, so to speak. Right? Okay, so it's oftentimes a really good idea to get away from your drawing, just step back away from it a little bit, and then you can just kind of see some of the things that maybe a few little differences. So I can see, for instance, that my belly is just a little bit bigger than the one over here, and I'll just make a few corrections here and there, right? And it means that this leg here has gotten less defined, so maybe I'll bring that out a little bit. And then I see maybe some overall values. Now that I've put in a little bit heavier texturing, I can revalue some of it. And oftentimes it comes back to just thinking about things in forms and seeing things. And you'll find that it really follows what we were doing conceptually. And if you want things to stand out, then you certainly want to go ahead and use the whole value range in things. That's what really helps things to stand out. Round that off a little bit. And like I was saying before, don't be afraid to exaggerate things a little bit. That really helps to communicate. It's kind of like somebody being expressive when they talk. So use all the value scales, all the way from really dark to really light. Unless it's for a reason. Unless you're trying to set a mood for some way or another. That whole thing here. And that contrast, you see, that's another principle. That contrast between the lights and the darks, here like on the edge, what really makes it stand out. Let's see, anywhere else? Are we looking pretty good? At this point, I might not even look at my actual thing anymore, my actual model, and start really just looking, focusing in on my drawing itself. Because like I was saying, nobody's going to see the original. So if I really want this to be three-dimensional, I'll start really thinking in terms of forms. Okay, how can I bring that out? How can I make that really look like a three-dimensional, cylindrical sort of thing, right? Can we exaggerate that just a little bit to bring things out? All right. Well, I guess we're going to call that good enough. And so that would be drawing number 14. So I'm going to label it drawing 14. All right. Observational. Oh, I'll have to redo that. And who are you? Well, of course, you got to put your name. And even though I've got it drawing number 14, I still want, for the purposes of this, since it is an exercise, I want you to go ahead and put exercise 14. Well, like I say, I hope that was instructional, and yours, of course, is going to look different than mine. It has to. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that, and good luck.